What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mike It Yourself, and I'm super excited because we finally have lighting in here to improve our ability to see with the garage door closed, so we're not getting all the noise from the cars passing by, and we can finally jump in to our first big modification here in the new garage. And what that modification is going to be, we're going to upgrade the front suspension on the 2017 Road Glide. Alright guys, so what we've got is Progressive Suspensions OEM replacement for the Road Glide. I think it's just Harley Touring in general. I don't know what years this covers, so if you're wondering, like you want to know the part number or whatever it is, there you go. And of course I'll throw the link in the description so that way you have it. But this is not a kit to lower or to lift the front end. It is a kit to be a direct replacement of the existing springs, but it's supposed to provide you with a better ride, right? Higher quality is, supposed to outdo the stock Harley Davidson front suspension. So in theory, this should be an easy project, but as you know, they never are. We've got our instructions complete with stickers. Stickers are a vital point or component of every modification you do. If you don't have stickers with your modification, what are you really doing? All right, so first things first, we need to get the forks off of the bike. There's a couple of steps that need to be done, so let's talk about that. All right, so I've got most of the front end disassembled because I was working on a different project. So if you've been keeping up with the videos, then you know what that is. I figured it didn't make sense to put anything back on until I work through the process of getting these, just because it would give me more room, right? So double checking with the manual, and ultimately the steps we want to follow is once we get the bike off of the ground, we need to take off the front wheel. We're gonna have to take off the fender, and before we loosen the tubes from the triple tree, what you want to do is, after you remove that axle from the front, there are two screws, hex screws, bolts that go up that hold the dampeners. We need to break those loose, so don't remove them. So that the book even says do not remove those, just you want to break them loose because you want to have that spring pressure on those, so that way when you go to loosen them, they don't just spin on you. So we're going to loosen those up. Once we have that loosened, then we just need to go through the steps of removing the tubes. So you've got, and I had put this back on there for other reasons, but I need to take it back off. But we've got that pinch bolt there, and then we'll have another pinch bolt that's going to be down there that we need to undo. I don't believe we need to remove the cans to do this. I think we can leave those on, but if you want to take yours off, you can. Maybe you want to replace them or change color or whatever it is. One of the things I am going to do is I'm going to repolish. It's been a while since I polished these forks, so I'll be doing that while they're off. And what's nice about them being off and doing it that way is not only do you have a little bit more maneuverability, but you can get to the area that you can't with those cans on. So pretty straightforward process. We'll go ahead and get started here in a minute. All right guys, so before we get started, we want to make sure we have everything we need to get the job done. And some of that is just some basic tools, of course, your ratchets, whatever, your wrenches. But you're going to also want to make sure you have a torque wrench, because when you put this stuff together, you want to make sure you don't over torque any of these bolts, breaking them off, whatever else, be a nightmare. And then we're going to also need to make sure we get fork oil. So we'll cover the fork oil component once we get those new springs on. But as part of this process, we're going to dump the old stuff out. We'll take a look at it to see how bad it is. And then we'll put some fresh oil in, and we're going to use a special tool to do that, just to make sure we get the right height. And the reason we're going to do that is because I've run into the same thing on multiple projects, as far as watching what other people do. Everybody always asks the question, how much oil do you put in each tube? And by the book, it's not technically a fluid ounce number, if I'm reading correctly, but rather a height within the tube. And the way you measure that is with the leveling tube. So we'll take a, or tool. So we'll take a look at that once we get to that part. But for now, let's get the wheel off. Let's get these forks off. All right, so let's go ahead and get our wheel off. Actually, before we remove the wheel, because when you try to remove the wheel, you're gonna run into the calipers grabbing. Let's take the calipers off first. And the way I like to do that is well, I mean, the normal way of taking your caliper off, but I like to hang them off the bike using a combination of Crown Royal bags, and you get some little hooks so you can find a way to keep the, you know, line or the caliper from just hanging. So I like to have those right by me, so when I take these off, I can go ahead and put them on. All right, that there, get our hook, find a good place to hang it. Don't just hang it anywhere. And I want to also make sure I take that stress off of it. All right, there we go. All right, so not stressing the line, but that's how you do that. I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll be ready to take this wheel off. All right, so let's just massage this thing out of there. Sport your wheel. And get your spacers. And you can pull your wheel out. So we've run into our first challenge, right? Like I said, simple projects, no problem, easy, all day, right? Nope. So obviously different because I've already done my Road Glide before, or my Road King, but the Road Glide, that hex nut or hex bolt for the dampener is 12 millimeters. All of the sets that I have max out at 10. So two options, I guess. Go buy the 12 millimeter hex bit that I need, or I'm in the garage and I have a boatload of freaking bolts. If I can find a 12 millimeter bolt, I should be able to basically put like two nuts on here, jam nut, put that up in there, and then use this. Or maybe I could just use this like a shank and get my drill gun or something to be able to spin it or whatever. So let's see what we can find. Got a bunch of these, so gotta get lucky, right? Let's see. So how am I gonna measure it? Handy dandy caliper. All right. Let's take that out. Oh, my battery's dying in this thing, man. That's not good. All right, zero that out. I need 12 millimeter. Found one. So I'm gonna try this out. It's not very long. I wish I had one that was, I'm not gonna say it. I know what you're thinking. I'll make do. So let me get two nuts to put on this thing. Actually, I'm gonna try my drill and see if that can help, because the shank just barely sticks out the bottom, so I don't have a lot of room to play with. And we'll see if this will work. All right, so I had to bail on the try to make it yourself thing with the using a bolt. Like, great idea if I had a longer bolt. Still work out. So I ended up reaching out to my friend JB. You guys might know him as Jeff Bezos, whatever. And I told him what I needed. He overnighted me a kit. It's pretty cheap, 20 bucks, and you get from 2 millimeter all the way up to a 14 in this kit. Not bad. I'll tell you right now, I was looking at like Home Depot, Harbor Freight, and Lowe's to see if I could find the tool that I needed, and I don't even think anybody carried them. You'd had to order it online, so it's kind of ridiculous. But I don't know why sometimes engineers do things like that. Use a tool that's totally non-standard, or maybe I do understand it and I just don't like it. So I don't know. Let's jump back into this. We'll break those loose, and then we'll be able to pull the fork tubes out. All right, so just in case there's a lot of torque to it or whatever, I'm going to use this extension. It's a long extension to kind of help stabilize my fork, so that way it doesn't rotate on me. If you saw earlier when I was trying to use that bolt, this thing started like rotating. So I'm going to go through. I don't want to use those holes. Or actually, I do. I don't mind. Just want to make sure they don't have any threads in them, because you don't want to jack up any threads by putting pressure. But this will keep it from rotating. And like I said, the whole goal of this is just to break it loose. All right, so once it's loose, you may see some drops of the fluid, because you've broken that seal. In fact, let me show you here. You can see a little bit coming out on that one. Not a big deal. Once we take these off and we undo everything else, we're going to be draining it anyway. So now it's just really pinch bolts. So we got to do the upper pinch bolts. So we got those ones there, and then the two up top, and these things will come out. I recommend doing the top ones first, so that way you can do the bottom ones while you're down here, and you can support the tube with one hand while you loosen with the other hand, or else you might drop it, right? So you don't want to do that. All right, so we're going to tackle this first one here. Like I said, just loosen it up. Well, I can see this other one. I'm just going to go ahead and do that too. Like I said, the lower ones are still tight, so I'm not worried about the tube slipping out on me right now. And now we'll go attack it from the bottom, like I said, so we can continue to keep support on it and keep it from just dropping down. I'll show you another trick that I saw other folks do. Makes sense how it works, but we'll try that, I guess, and do a little combo thing here. But yeah, let me show you. So the other trick I read about or saw folks do was they did it with the axle, is they would put the axle back in and then loosen up one of the fork tubes, and that way as they loosened it, that first fork tube wouldn't just drop out, because you know the axle's kind of supporting it based on the other one. I've still got that extension in there, so We'll try it out. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, right? Doesn't help with the last one, but whatever. We'll give it a shot. All right, so I can feel my tube is already loose there. So I'm gonna, yeah, you see, so yeah, the extension is keeping it from just falling out. So I guess if you're attacking it from the top on the first one, that idea does work. Like I said, I don't know what the idea is when you have to go to the second one. But we'll just drop this out. Come on. And we'll get it on a table. Here we go. So first one's removed. I'm gonna knock out the other one, and then we'll take a look at this on the table. All right, so now that we got these things out, I can kind of show you, from the bottom. Hopefully you can see that. That's that bolt you need to loosen up. I'm not taking apart the entire shock assembly, which means I'm not going to remove the seal or anything. I just need to get the coil spring out of there. So in order to accomplish that, what we'll have to do is loosen this. Now, I just realized I made a mistake. I should have loosened this up, I believe, while it's still in the bike, so I can use the clamp, the triple tree clamp for the pinch bolt, to hold it in place while I loosen it, because now I've got it free, and that means I've got to try to loosen it while I'm holding it at the same time, and I'm not sure what this torque is. So because I'm a knucklehead, I may have to put it back into the bike just to use the pinch bolt to hold it in place. The alternative method, of course, is you can use a vise. They probably have special clamps to hold on to this, because you don't want to scar any of this up. That'll be bad. I'm going to clean it up because it is pretty dirty, but I'm going to use a polish so that way it doesn't damage the shock, right? You don't want any kind of grooves or anything, because it'll cause it to leak, and that'll be a bad thing. So let me figure out what I'm going to do to get that removed, and we'll have the exciting fun part of when it pops, all that kind of good stuff. We need to drain the oil. So yeah, let's get to it. Do you guys remember at the beginning of this video when I had mentioned make sure you have all the tools you're going to need? And I think I said a couple of things: torque wrench, blah blah blah. So apparently on the newer Harleys, so like I said, I've done this one time before, or for Harley Davidson at least. I've only done it one time before, and that's the point of this channel, is like, hey, can you do it yourself? I'll try it. Let's see how hard it is. There's a little bit of discovery here, and part of that discovery is that is a 19 millimeter hex bit, or Allen wrench, whatever you want to call it. On my Road King, it uses a like a bolt, right? It's got a hex head, so I just use this like massive adjustable wrench or monkey wrench to get that off. So yeah, I need to get another tool. I'm so glad I have close friends like JB that can help me out and get me set up with some of these tools. So I'm gonna go jump on the phone. I'll call JB, see what he can do, help us out. Hopefully we can get something sent over pretty quick. and that way we can complete this job. It's gonna be a 2-part series, guys. No doubt about it, especially the way we're going right now. We still need to get fluid too, so yeah. All right, guys, so our guy JB came through clutch again. We've got our Hex Bit. This thing is freaking massive. It's almost like novel, right? Like, you got this right next to your pretend can of Barbasol from like Jurassic Park, and then, you know, your FBI with the female body. You know what I mean, right? Like, it's just silly big. So anyhow, I'm gonna try to take them off. I've got the little bit of the impact gun. It's light impact, so it's not very strong. So I don't know if I can hold the tube and be able to break this loose. If I can, that's a solid win. If I can't, then I have to put it back in the triple tree and clamp it down as a workaround, because I don't have that special tool for a vise. In fact, I don't even have a vise that's big. So yeah, so let's see here. We'll give this a run and pray we get lucky. Let's see here. Woo! Okay, that one's loose, or broken at least. Broken loose. Oh yeah. All right, cool. So they're loose now. Let me get a catch pan so we can pour the fluid in. But we're ready to open these up and take these springs out. I'm probably gonna get some gloves on so that way I don't get all kinds of friggin' fluid all over me. Yeah, let me get set up real quick. All right, guys, so this is always the fun part, loosening this up until it pops or does its thing. So let's see how it goes. Woo. All right. Maybe I should wear an apron. But there you go. So made a little bit of a mess, not much. I don't know if I could have done it any differently. But you got the stock spacer there. Let's go ahead and drain this out. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's pull that out. And then we'll get the dampener out in a minute. Let's grab some rags here for this stuff before I make too much of a mess. All right, so let's do the damper here. Oop, come on. Ah, poop. Oh, knew that was going to happen. Dang it. All right. Let's throw the damper out. Get that off. All right, guys, so one of the things that I know I've always struggled with as a backyard mechanic or whatever is like when it came to fluids and stuff that you're like, you don't know well because you don't change them often. And you see it and it's always like, well, was it dirty? And you're like, I don't, it looked okay, right? So like, you know, that's red, right? And so if you don't know what to look for, you're like, well, it was red, it wasn't black. So if it was super dirty, then it would probably be either really murky brown or black or something, right? Take a look at it in your catch pan, and you can use a flashlight and it'll bring out the difference. You can see the discoloration that's in there, right? That's dirty. Right? That's kind of a no-brainer there, right? It's actually kind of cool, man. I should make artwork out of it. So if you're ever wondering whether or not, I mean, you look at that tube doesn't look too bad, right? And that little sample of it, you're like, oh, that's not bad, until you see the bigger picture. So take a look at it sometimes under light, and it'll help expose how bad your fluid is. We get everything laid out now. I like to try to keep whatever was in one tube together. I don't mix them. So that's the damper, that's the top, you know, cap, everything, whatever for that one. Same thing with there. Left and right, it's pretty easy to tell because you can only put them on the bike one way, right? Yeah, I had to take a second to think that through, make sure I didn't have that wrong. So we're laid out. We're gonna do a comparison of the new springs and all that stuff, but for now, we're ready to start swapping things over, and we got to get the fluid. We got to get the fluid level checker tool thing or whatever, and we'll go over that. But yeah, this is the disassembly process for just changing the springs. Again, if you're going to do the seals, there's a little bit more to be done. You got some, like a C-clip in there, a retaining clip that has to be removed, and then you kind of, you know, yank those out, and then to put it together, there is a tool to do it so you seat the seal correctly, or I've seen guys use PVC pipe that just fits over. The diameter is perfect for that. So different ways to do it. We're not doing that. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed watching that disassembly process. This is part one of the series. It's going to be a two-parter. Second part will be the installation and or the swap and installation. I don't know how you want to word it, but you know, here we are, at least two tools later that we didn't have, that I didn't realize I was gonna need, because I was basing my experience off of the 07 Road King, which is different, right? So things to think about if you have, I think it's a 14 and up, or at least 14 to 23 Road Glide, Road King, whatever, touring. The tube caps, 12 or 19 millimeter hex bit, and the dampener bolt is a 12 millimeter hex bit. So make sure you have those on hand as well, or else you're going to be like me and reaching out. I'll send you, you know what, I'll post my buddy JB's link in the description, so if you need anything, you know, just reach out to JB. Him and his Amazon crew, they'll take care of you, right? Anyhow, all right, guys, we'll call this a wrap, and next week we jump into the second half of this and see how it performs. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the wind.